I'm Bella, and today I'm experimenting with coffee. As a starting point, I've listened to Shostakovich Quartet No.8, and I fell so much in love. It's such a raw and disastrous piece, that conveys a lot of chaos because it was based on war in the 1960s. To pursue this in my art, I firstly recorded myself playing a sort of improvisational arrangement of the piece on my viola. I'm a violist for around 5 years now, and through understanding the music of quartet, I was able to really grasp the beauty of this piece that some might think is too metal for classical music. And so I did some experiments with coffee using my bare hands to really show that raw texture and feeling that is very expressive. You can't really get it from a paintbrush or any other tool. So through some 3 experiments, I've been able to express some emotions through water and coffee beans, and exploring some artists such as Kandinsky, who was basically the first person who explored synesthetic art, which is art inspired by music. I created 3 experimental pieces here. If we go through, the first one, I first was actually thinking of the artist Kandinsky, who was inspired by music and created his own abstract art, and he was the pioneer of that. And you can just see by these circles, I really got that inspiration by him. But the main thing here is I started with a really rich, saturated coffee mixture, which really brings in that very rawness of the piece. So that was the first. I feel like this piece is like the whole impression of the piece. So this was like the introduction, the little strokes, the string playing. So yeah, that's an introductory piece. And then moving on to the second one. I feel like this grasps the main emotion of it. As you can see, I started with wetting the paper first, and then I just put on like big, gigantic strokes to show the rawness of that emotion, layering with other dark solutions, which really put in that, because the piece is about war, it's really like dark, so that really brings it out emotionally. And then the last piece here, you can see there's quite a lot of little splashes and some rhythm here. So I guess I was listening to more of the ending of each string stroke when I was playing it. And it was really, I feel like sporadic, and it really captured the anger of the piece. So continuing on, this is my piece. The starting point of this piece was just a large splash of very saturated coffee. What my interpretation of the music, because it was about war and suppression, my personal message was being in a cage and wanting to break free. So you can just see motifs in this work. We have very long, longitudinal strokes, which is really close to how Shostakovich composed his piece. So throughout his work, he had a 4-note motif, D, S, C, H, which spelled out his name. It's like this. And this motif was just completely embedded in the whole piece, especially in his 8th quartet. And I just think it's a reiteration of what the people went through in war. So what my piece aims to capture is the whole anatomy of the piece. And because I'm a violist player and I do play, and I have played the piece, I aim to capture the stroke of playing a string instrument, and that's something I really want to share with people, is the beauty of playing string instruments, because nowadays people think classical music is boring. And so I would say there is 5 main things about this artwork, starting with this circular motion. It's a repetition of what I explored with my experiments about Kandinsky and how he used abstract shapes to explore art. This is a reiteration of the climax of the piece, where 2 of the instruments would play arpeggios on the string, and so that's that circular motion of the string. Moving on, we have this very dense band of area, and because I'm a violist player, I am part of the bass. So there's 2 people playing in a quartet, 2 violins, 1 viola, 1 cello, and the viola and cello bit is this part. And it's really just a love letter, an admiration to the bass section and how beautiful and rich it is. Again, there's this reiteration of circular motion happening. I used my hands to create that. And then, as you can see, moving on to the 3rd motif, is this long line of sort of a stream thing that's happening. And in this quartet, there are 5 movements in total. This whole piece is based on movement 2. And how this whole, so the first movement was actually a really slow motion. It was named largo, which means very, very slow and like well-paced. And so this is a sort of reiteration of maybe the sorrows of war. Yeah, you'll see in my playing, there's moments where the interpretation of the D-S-C-H motif is very lethargic and somber. And so that leads to the last bit, almost last bit, the fourth bit, which is this very dark area. It really looks like a cistern darkness sort of thing happening, where I've really just put this dark saturated coffee solution right here. And what I think it is the cello. I really love the cello. I'm not a cellist, but there's just such a mellow sound to it that I'm jealous of the cellos and cellists. And so there's just, because war, there's really darkness into it, and if you hear the real quartets playing, you'll really hear the cello's voice and how engulfing it is. So that's that. And lastly, we have, again, these long lines that literally translate to bars. And so my interpretation when I was playing it was bam, ba-da-dum, ba-da-bum. It's sort of like banging on those bars. So like, let me out.